And joining me now is NBC's Hala Karani. She is in Tel Aviv for us again. Mark Polymeropoulos, he spent years as a CIA officer and chief of operations and the chief of operations in Europe and Eurasia. And Colin Clark, director of research at the Soufan Group. Sorry, Colin, I botched up a couple of the titles there, but we've got good questions, no less. I appreciate our experts being here. Hala, let me get to you. What else are we learning specifically from the Netanyahu government about how they are preparing for a possible attack, even a likely attack, as some officials describe it?
Right. Well, Yoav Gallant, the Minister of Defense, hosted the CENTCOM commander Kurilla. They had this photo op at an air base in Israel, essentially standing side by side, sending the message that the U.S. is ready to support its ally in the Middle East, Israel, against any attack. And as many of our viewers know, this is coming just about 11, 12 days after an attack widely attributed to Israel on an Iranian consular building killed 2 senior commanders, 5 other senior Iranian officials. This happened it has to be said, in a civilian area in the Syrian capital, and you're seeing aftermath of that strike there. It was adjacent to the Canadian embassy on one side. So Iran has vowed to retaliate. The question is, of course, when and how. How, if it goes against intelligence or military targets, it's not like the U.S. where you have U.S. military targets peppered around the region, where it could go, for instance, take aim at an air base in Syria or in Iraq. This would have to be, presumably, on Israeli territory, Peter, and if that happens, Israel has said that it will retaliate in kind, meaning it will retaliate against Iranian territory. And of course, I don't have to tell you that that would mean a very, very serious increase in the amount of military activity and tension in the region, and would lead to a wider conflagration in the Middle East. And the big question overhanging there would be, what would the U.S. do? What would the U.S.'s reaction be if that happens, Peter?
Yeah, and it's our reporting based on multiple U.S. officials that the U.S. right now is discussing what its response would be in case of any strike that takes place in Israel. Another real concern, of course, could be that American forces in that region, in Syria or in Iraq, become targets as well. Mark, I want to ask you, I was so struck by some of the notes you shared with our team. I know you've worked in the past, you have long experience working with Israelis. What goes into the decision-making by the Israelis when they conduct a strike like this on a consular building like that? Obviously, it's potentially escalatory, but you say they have a real calculation. What is that calculation?
That's right, Peter. You know, the Israeli kind of cost-benefit calculations are very deliberate. You know, they will look at a target. In this case, it was Iranian officials in Damascus. In fact, in a building, I've walked by there probably 100 times. It is in an urban area. It was a very pinpointed strike. There were not civilian casualties. The casualties were, of course, the Iranian officials. But they're gonna calculate, well, if we do this, you know, there is great benefit. But they also fully recognize the cost, and the cost will be Iranian retaliation. At times, they would even say things such as, you know, we may lose an embassy, we may get attacked for this. And so the Israelis go about this in a very deliberative manner. And in their mind, the targets that they struck were worth what is coming now, which is going to be Iranian retaliation. The big question, of course, as Hala noted, is where, when, how. One quick point, I would say that both intelligence communities in the United States and Israel laser focused on this, with human sources, with signals intelligence, with overhead imagery of Iranian military facilities, just to see what's coming in the next 24, 48, 72 hours.
Yeah, no, I got to say, as I speak to national security officials and White House officials here privately, I know this is top of mind for all of them right now. Colin, I do want to ask you about this and the fears as it relates to Iran. One that I keep hearing is the potential for a drone strike of some kind that may be able to sort of evade the Israeli defense effort more than other types of strikes would be able to. What are the concerns? What are the things that you think we should be concerned and worried about right now?
Well, Iran's got a litany of options. So there's the potential for long-range missiles. There's the potential for drones, and I'd say not only drones, but a drone swarm, which makes it even difficult to counter what we call unmanned aerial systems, or UAS. And then there's an array of proxy groups that the Iranians have worked through for a long time, including Lebanese Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, Iraqi Shia militias. All of those groups could be responsible for conducting a terrorist attack. So no shortage of options for the Iranians. I think a response likely brings what's been a low boil regional war up a couple of notches. Real danger for escalation, Peter.
Yeah, I know that is really the fear, is that fear of escalation. Hala, quickly, if I can, to you very quickly. I know the CENTCOM commander, Michael Kurilla, has been on a visit to Israel. Without getting in all the details of that visit, what is the latest in terms of the relationship between the U.S. and Israel right now? Right, on the one hand, the U.S. is trying to put pressure on Israel as it relates to Gaza. On the other hand, they're trying to say we stand with you entirely as it relates to Iran.
Well, I think those two things are linked, what's happening in Gaza and what's happening with Iran. And also Colin mentioned the Houthis, who've been mounting attacks against these shipping routes as well. So all of this is kind of related, and it could potentially, as we've all noted, lead to a major escalation. And as we've all studied sort of these conflicts in the Middle East over the past several decades, it takes one miscalculation for a huge explosion to involve then countries in the same way that it happened in 2006 between Hezbollah and Israel. And I think this is something that the CENTCOM commander has to be concerned about as well. The Israeli military has canceled leave for some of its reservists. They are very active on the northern border with Lebanon, where Hezbollah and Israel have been trading, have been engaged in cross-border fire now for several months. There really is concern, and that has to be something that General Kurilla has spoken to Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, here about, Peter.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.